Every sport, every Friday. BBC Radio Suffolk Sport. Suffolk's #1 place for sports talk.
BBC Radio Suffolk.
Good evening. Tonight, an end to the saga over non-league allocations for next season. Or is it? More in a moment. There's Tommy Miller on the next phase in his career after leaving Ipswich Town. We'll preview the Lions tour to South Africa, plus Speedway and local cricket as well before 7.
BBC Radio Suffolk Sport. Matchday preview.
Well, the Football Association finally released the allocations for all clubs below Football League level this lunchtime. It's been much delayed and is still subject to some further changes. And I guess we already know the main news, that Lowestoft Town will be playing in the Isthmian or Ryman League next season. But there's some considerable anger that while Lowestoft have been accepted, AFC Sudbury's request to rejoin the Ryman League has not. Their chairman in a moment, but first Ryman League chairman Alan Turvey, who sought to explain why one and not the other to me earlier.
We are happy to always welcome new clubs to the league. It's a question of Lowestoft had expressed an interest or wish to be included in the Isthmian League. You probably know that, do you? In fact, their MP wrote on several times, but none of that really made any particular, it shouldn't be allowed to cause any sway, but East Anglia is not in our normal area, but in the event that the Southern League wouldn't take Lowestoft, we weren't going to see them not go anywhere, so we agreed that they could come in our league.
Because there is some confusion as to which area East Anglia actually falls in the National League system, because there was a quote attributed to somebody within the Isthmian League at some stage, whether it was you or somebody else, saying that East Anglian clubs aren't coming into our league. There seemed to be some sort of battle as to who goes where.
It is, well, East Anglia is not our area. I mean, we have clubs in our league, or who were in our league, such as Uxbridge. Now, you know Uxbridge is right next to London Airport. Mm. That has to play in the Southern League. And the last year, the reason given by the Southern League was they were the nearest team to Truro, which is not the right way to do it. But we had for 1 year, I think 1 year or 2 years, Sudbury and Bury. But East Anglia doesn't really, it's not as we perceive our area to be. Our area we perceive to be more south, south than London. And we would have seen that as King's Lynn in the past have been in the Southern League, I believe. We would have perceived Lowestoft's probably best place for them was in the Southern League, with clubs like Bury and Sudbury and Soham and other teams coming through. You know, the teams you've had in Cambridge come through. But the Southern League wouldn't agree with that. So they also wanted to keep Bury and Soham, and so that wasn't fair to those clubs to be split up, and Sudbury. So we agreed on this occasion to take Lowestoft, but there is to be a complete review of the area boundaries, which have sort of, because of the structure that was brought in some few years ago, it's actually bringing in some not very sensible looking areas.
That brings me on to AFC Sudbury, who I understand applied to join your league, but do not appear in the list, and they're staying where they are in the Southern League. I think you've probably just outlined that, but I mean...
Yes, it is, because the Southern League... I suppose in our ideal thoughts, the Lowestoft, Sudbury, Bury and Soham, and perhaps anything else in that way, should have been in a same group, and I'm sure that you would say that as well.
Yeah.
However, the Bury had wanted to stay with the Southern League, and the Southern League they didn't mind what happened to Sudbury, but it's only fair that those clubs should all be together. So we said we would take Lowestoft, although it is way out of our league, way out of our boundary. It's not going to be a very easy journey for people, and Sudbury have got that. Lowestoft have got that same problem coming south, of course.
So that's more of a one-off thing rather than AFC Sudbury feeling some sort of slight. Because I mean, just looking at
there's no slight on Sudbury at all. But the thing is, it would be silly to split those teams up, that group of teams up. They should all be in the same league, whatever that league would be.
Yeah, I mean, Sudbury is saying they're going to have to travel over 4,000 miles. Whereas if they'd been in your league, it'd have been 2,300 miles.
I understand that, and one has feelings for Sudbury, and I'm always delighted that anybody wants to be in our league. And to be fair, not because I've been chairman for 25 years, I can't think of a team that's ever said they don't want to be in our league.
Would you welcome this next stage of looking at the boundaries?
Well, we've been asking for it since this structure came in 4 years ago.
But presumably you wouldn't welcome it if they were clustering East Anglian clubs in your league, though, because it sounds as though you're not welcoming that.
No, if that was to be decided by everybody after joint and fair discussion, yes. But what our immediate answer would be is that in our the way that we see our league, East Anglia, nothing to do with this, nothing against East Anglia, because it's a very nice area, but we don't perceive that to be in our league. If someone said we could have an unlimited number of clubs, but we are restricted to 66 clubs.
That's the Ryman League chairman, Alan Turvey. To say the least, AFC Sudbury aren't happy. I've been speaking to chairman Keith Morris, who's unhappy with how they heard the news too.
Firstly, we're very disappointed, not necessarily the decision, because probably it was half expected, but certainly in the way that we found out again. Our secretary was advised by the Suffolk Free Press, who had been contacted by the publicity department of the FA. And at this point in time, we still have had no communication at all from the Southern League. So we're just taking everything off of the FA website and going forward from that point in time.
Yeah, I mean, that seems an extraordinary way for you to find out. I mean, we assume that each league would be, or at least the FA would be, contacting each club, in turn.
Absolutely, Mark. Yeah, we expected that last season, and obviously this as well, but it obviously has not happened. So I've obviously spoken to Nick Smith, our manager. At least he knows what he's got to do now, and to try and find players that are prepared again to do the travel. Board of Directors will meet as soon as one or two of them come back from their leave next week. We have a right of appeal within 14 days, and we're told by the FA today that the committee is separate from that's made the decisions to date. But we'll keep going. We'll just do that one last stage and see where we go.
I've spoken to Alan Turvey of the Isthmian League, the Ryman League, this afternoon about the decision to allow Lowestoft Town to play in their league next season, but you haven't been entered. And they're basically saying, we've got 66 clubs, we took Lowestoft on, but there probably wasn't room for anybody else, as they don't see themselves as covering the East Anglian clubs.
Well, that's interesting. We knew, obviously, from Lowestoft and the publicity of the good work that they did to make sure that they didn't get into the Southern for very good reasons. Travelling, etc., a lot worse than us. But the other thing that the FA have told us today is that the Southern and the Rymans League were asked to get together for this season to reform the boundaries. It hasn't happened. It doesn't seem to be there's any recourse from that point of view. But we're also told that from September of this year that they will have to get together to redefine the boundaries. But we've heard it once, and we hear it again. So again, we're in the hands of people that, at the moment, apparently do not understand the plight of clubs of our size, relevant to the pounds and P's, and the players taking time off of work to achieve the league fixtures, etc. But it's not too much we can do at the moment, as I said earlier, other than to put that appeal in within the next 14 days.
Do you think, in a way, that East Anglian clubs are being a victim of their own success, and the fact that maybe they've moved faster than the league system can move to catch up with them? So we're getting caught out on a limb because we're involved in league systems that aren't really set up to carry teams.
Yeah, I think that's fair comment, particularly from Step 5 and obviously maybe below. Step 4 is different for the obvious reasons that we're split up and obviously can't compete at that level. But yes, certainly, the likes of Wroxham over the years, and obviously most definitely Lowestoft and Eden Market, etc. We consider Sudbury that they could all play a good part, again at the level 4 situation. So
just to recap, then, the committee's going to meet. You still have time to appeal it if you feel that's necessary.
Yeah, I will call a board meeting as soon as I've got two of my colleagues back next week. We'll come up with the strategy for obviously going forward within the next 14 days, which starts today, and we will put an appeal in and see where we go from there.
That's AFC Sudbury's chairman, Keith Morris. Obviously, we'll keep you posted during the course of the summer, but as it stands, AFC Sudbury staying in the Southern League. Andy Murray's taken the first set against Janko Tipsarevic in the French Open. More on that later, 6:15.
Travel news from BBC Radio Suffolk.
BBC Radio Suffolk.
And here's Emma with the latest.
Thank you very much. We've just had a report of some problems on the A14 eastbound as you try and join the A14 at junction 39 for Kentford. It's a lane that's blocked off on the entry slip road due to a broken down lorry. So keep us updated with that one if you're stuck in any queues. The A11